So, and that with the word environment, I go to the last part, and then it's time for us to take a little break and do something, right? Experience something. And that's the word environment. What the key is of everything that I shared with you is the understanding that each one of us contributes and is co-responsible of the environment we create, the environment we live in, without any exception. It's our responsibility. I think if that is fully understood by mankind, we will change. We have to. And it's one of the passions that both Jeanne and I have of really connecting to the earth and sharing the knowledge so that people begin to understand that. That's why both of us love to do vortex tours, as we call them. A vortex tour is nothing more than helping people to understand in a little bit more compressed form than we do it here today, because we have a little bit more time than 2 hours on a vortex tour. But that is what we both feel is very important. And we both love Mother Earth very, very dearly. So it's important to share that understanding so that people can make a choice. The choice is theirs. But we can at least help people to understand how important that choice is, right? So that's a little bit the introduction that I wanted to share with you, and open for any questions, comments, whatever you want to make before we have our break.
What are you going to add about the crystal skulls?
Oh! Let me, thank you. Go back to this. Go back to this. The vortexes that we are going to are belonging to what you call the natural system of the earth, in the same way as the vortexes of our acupuncture points or our chakras are a part of our system, right? But the interesting thing is that we have the ability to create our own vortexes. What does that mean? That we are walking vortexes. We have a vortex that goes, and we call that the first chakra, that goes into the earth, and we have our interaction there. And we have a vortex that we call the 7th through the 12th that plugs us into the universe, right? So we are continuously, where we walk, can you imagine, we take all these vortexes where, and we do that all the time, yeah? And we can determine to what degree that sound will come to us, right? From both directions. So if you realize that that is actually the key, that when you sit on a vortex, in that moment, that system is beginning to work. With other words, you set this into motion, yes? I hope that's very clear. That's how it works. That's why every visit to a vortex is benefiting you and benefiting Mother Earth. It's benefiting mankind because we bring more into the grid systems and it spreads out. So it's a very dynamic thing. Now, for most of us, we are not yet what you call completely open systems. You know, we have all kinds of challenges still, so it's not yet always working so optimally as we would have liked it to work. So what do? We develop tools. Tools that help us to become that beautiful channel that we actually are. You know, that walking channel, you can say. So one of the most powerful tools that we believe exists are these guys. Yeah? Because each of them, in and of itself, is doing the same thing. There are actually 6 vortexes, and maybe I should draw them into this one, and a little one. This is, let's say, a skull. Look a little bit like a skull, right?
You did all right.
Thank you. Thank you. I have my own attempts. Anyway, what is happening is there are actually 6 vortexes connected with this one. There is one that goes from here down and up, from the sides, and I will put it in an axis, from the front and then from the back. Main vortexes. There are all kinds of tiny little thingies in addition to that, in the same way as we have many different, as I said already, many different vortexes, every acupuncture point. Some people say we have a couple of thousand, even though the Chinese work with 361. Some say we have thousands. You know, if Jeanne is doing her jins and jitsu, she said, well, that's not really an acupuncture point, but it's definitely a point. So there are many different points that are existing. So what this system is doing when it connects with us, we become one system. So we strengthen tremendously our ability of having those two different main vortexes to bring in that energy of every vortex. So to do that with a crystal skull, you know, any meditation is intensifying everything. And yesterday you missed that because you were not there. But what we basically were saying, this is kind of helping us in our personal journey, but it can also help us to experience anything else that we do in a far more intense way. And that's the way that I would like us to do that today. You know, when we take the thing is simply to intensify your experiences. And you can use your own skull, or you can even use a crystal. It's up to you. But why the skull, just for the sake of completion then, is because that particular form is combining that earth of the crystal with the combination that human beings have. Yeah, does that make sense what I'm saying? So that form is adding something to a crystal, and that's why we believe it's more powerful than it is. It has something in addition to the crystal. Yeah. So that is why we would like to use them. You know, there's no need to use them, but as I said, it makes it easier, not only because you intensify your vortex connection, but also because it helps you to lower your brain frequencies more from the beta into the theta delta, so you begin to perceive more, so to speak. It supports the perception system. Yeah? Yes?
What's the range? Strange question, but
no?
What's the range of one of those? If I have it in my pocket, is it radiating to a genie, or is it up to what I'm putting in it?
Yes, it's depending on how active it is. So, crystal skulls and crystals and everything actually, in the same way as us, can be activated, you know, let's say having its full potential on many different layers. And crystal skulls, I am incapable of, in this phase of my life, in fully activated SEM. There is still so much. You know, while in the past people would say I've activated fully my skull or fully my crystal, and by deeper understanding the different layers of activation, we now understand, well, yes, it's true, that's your optimum, so that's your fully activation in that moment. There's nothing wrong with that statement, but it doesn't mean you have totally tapped into full potential of that crystal or that skull. Yeah, so that's a whole different journey. And I think in the same way as I was saying, you know, between the vortexes, potential versus realized, the crystal skulls, based on the different energy layers that have been activated, are telling us what the potential is that we can tap into, and determines what we get out of that particular layer that we can call the collective crystal skull field, or, you know, but they can also help us to plug into the dolphin field, you know. They can also help us to plug into the pine tree field, you know, one of the things we wanted to do with our crystal skull group, and we are going to do next week. It doesn't matter what field that you choose, but a degree, yes. So that also, now going back, Janet, to your question, depending on that, they have a certain size, and the size of the field is determined by two things. It's determined by the level of activation, as I said, and the size of the crystal skull. So to give an example, if SEM is fully activated in this moment, fully, as far as I can do it, it goes very close to 10 miles. But if you take one of the smaller ones, you know, this little guy that I love to have in my pocket, well, used to have in my pocket far more often, and I brought one to very many places. This is my little buddy, and I sit there and meditate and experience my connections. This one, if I fully activate it, is going only for less than a kilometer. So what's that in miles? About 0.7 miles. Yeah. So you see that with the size it increases tremendously. If you take the medial hedges, it goes, well, even 12 miles. It goes beyond that. So I don't know where it's going. Yes.